evidence about the shootings.
There was no exchange of words on either side. No warning, nothing said, no screams, nothing, just the shots.
I should say they were from a distance of about 4 feet, and that the firing was continuous. In other words, it's probably as fast as it is possible to fire. A continuous fire.
Good evening. The killing by the SAS of 3 IRA terrorists in Gibraltar has provoked intense debate, not only in Britain but throughout the world, and especially in the Republic of Ireland and the United States. There are perhaps those who wonder what the fuss is about, who ask, does it really matter when or how they were killed, who say they were terrorists, there's a war on, and we got them before they got us. However, in the eyes of the law and of the state, it is not so simple. The question which goes to the heart of the issue is this: did the SAS men have the law on their side when they shot dead Mairead Farrell, Danny McCann and Sean Savage, who were unarmed at the time? Were the soldiers acting in self-defense, or were they operating what's become known as a shoot-to-kill policy, simply eliminating a group of known terrorists outside the due process of law, without arrest, trial or verdict? There have been many calls for a public inquiry to establish the facts. The government's insisted that the coroner's inquest in Gibraltar is an adequate forum at which to discover the truth. In either case, we believe that the evidence that this week's uncovered for tonight's special programme is of critical importance for those who wish to find out what really happened in Gibraltar last month. Julian Mannion reports.
Sunday morning on the Costa del Sol, and among the holidaymakers, 3 Irish terrorists were planning a bloodbath. A white car headed down the coast road, driven by an IRA bomber. The destination was Gibraltar, still Britain's vital military outpost at the entrance to the Mediterranean.
Royal salute! We say on!
The IRA have admitted that their plan involved explosives, and all evidence suggests that the target was a ceremony that is a symbol of British tradition on the rock and a major tourist attraction. Every Tuesday morning, in normal times, soldiers and a military band parade in front of the Governor-General's residence. The ceremony ends round the corner in a side street 100 yards away. And it was here, at this moment, that the IRA apparently planned to set off a massive car bomb. Instead, 3 bombers were shot down after carrying out the first stage of their plan, driving in an empty car to secure a parking space as close as possible to their intended victims. In the same street where 140 pounds of high explosive would have detonated, I spoke to a former explosives expert with the British Army. Lieutenant Colonel George Stiles was for 3 years commander of bomb disposal in Ulster. He says the bomb would have annihilated soldiers and spectators alike.
Well, we're talking about it in seconds, but in milliseconds, the car would disintegrate. The shrapnel could go nowhere. It would ricochet off the walls of the building opposite and the wall behind. But above all that, you've got a tremendous concentration of blast because of the buildings so close together and the smallness of the area and so forth. And in the middle of all that, you've got people.
And what would have been the effect on these people, the band, principally, of the Royal Anglian Regiment?
Well, they wouldn't survive. People are fragmentable. They can be torn apart, and they are torn apart by the effects of concentrated blast. And I think anybody in this area would not survive.
Enniskillen, on November 8th last year, showed what a far smaller bomb can do to a mass of people. In this case, civilians gathered together for Remembrance Sunday. The 40-pound bomb had been placed inside a building next to the route of the Remembrance Day parade. In the wave of blast and flying rubble, 11 people died and more than 50 were wounded. Some wounds heal. Others last long after the memory of the atrocity has begun to fade. Until the bomb, Ronnie Hill was the much-loved headmaster of the local high school. Today, his wife Noreen keeps watch as he lives on in a deep coma that may sadly prove irreversible. The coma began during emergency surgery to save Mr. Hill's life after the blast had badly damaged his lungs.
His mind hasn't started to work yet. I mean, he can hear us, he can hear what we're saying, but he can see the difference in day and night. He can feel, but he can't move at all. On his own, he can't move.
And you're obviously sustained by the hope that he will get better.
Oh, yes. We have faith that he will get better. The Lord will start his brain working in his time. And we've got to wait until that time.
After Enniskillen, the Provisional's political leadership expressed regret. But in fact, the IRA was already planning the Gibraltar outrage. And one of the Gibraltar terrorists talked about Enniskillen in a recorded conversation in a suburban house in Belfast.
It's all a political act. Even what happened in Enniskillen was a political act, because it wouldn't have happened if Britain weren't in Ireland.
The speaker was Mairead Farrell, who claimed on tape that she was against civilian casualties because they didn't help the struggle. She had recently been released after serving more than 10 years in prison for planting bombs in a Belfast hotel, an act she committed at the age of 19. In the same tape, she said she was lucky the police didn't shoot her when they found her outside the hotel.
I don't know, mad is didn't take prisoners. You know, I was lucky. I was lucky.
In prison, Farrell led the women's dirty protest, smearing excrement on the walls of their cells. After her release, she re-entered the IRA's military structure in a special unit attached to the General Headquarters staff. In the same team were Sean Savage, a committed terrorist known for his bomb-making skills, and Danny McCann, known to British intelligence as one of the IRA's most dangerous killers, who chose to shoot his victims at point-blank range. Last year, McCann was photographed with a cross that he claimed British soldiers had delivered to his door in Belfast. These were the 3 terrorists who came back dead from Gibraltar. It's now clear that their unit's mission was to strike a major blow to revive IRA morale. Instead, they were tracked and died in what seemed a stunning military success for British forces. But in the way of Northern Ireland, that success is already turning sour, soured by the violence of the following days and by the questions that still surround the deaths in Gibraltar. Were the terrorists, as some have charged, executed?
They put their hands up when they saw these men with the guns in their hands, but they couldn't say anything. There was no interchange of words. It was just shots. Once they dropped down, one of the men, this man who still had the gun in his hand, carried on shooting. He bent down and carried on shooting at their heads.
Well, it seems to me that if you can get that close to someone, if you can get within 4 feet of your target, is it really necessary to shoot them? Or even if it is necessary to shoot them, is it necessary to shoot them to kill them?
It was on November the 5th last year, 4 months before the shooting, that the IRA operation in southern Spain got underway, arriving at Malaga Airport a member of their special headquarters unit. The terrorist who mingled with the other passengers was Daniel McCann, the gunman from Belfast, carrying a false Irish passport in the name of Riley. As he went through passport control, he appeared to slip through routinely, but in reality, Spanish security police were already watching for him. It turned out that McCann's destination was Torremolinos. In fact, the first tip-off that helped to locate the Irish terrorists here on the Costa del Sol came from London. I'm told that the Spanish police had received a message from the British authorities warning them that an IRA group could be trying to operate on Spanish soil. The message included a list of names together with descriptions